Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everybody, and welcome along to today's video where I'm just going to give you guys a quick preview of this week's episode of Doctor Who, Oxygen. So we reach episode 5 of the series, my most anticipated episode of the series so far, which is Oxygen by Jamie Mathieson, who returns to write Doctor Who for the first time since series 9. His third episode so far for Doctor Who. We've seen him certainly pull it out of the bag, I think you would say, for series 8 with Flatline and Mummy on the Orient Express. Probably two of the best episodes of series 8, at least I would say so. And so I was really pleased when I heard that he'd be doing another episode again, and certainly from the reviews that we've seen so far, it sounds like he's done another classic. This episode very much appears to be a sort of base under siege space station sort of adventure that we haven't really had in a little while, and certainly it's the sort of story that I really particularly like. Any sort of space station setting for a story is always something I like, the nice big outer space stuff, combined with a nice base under siege element, makes it sound like going to be a bit of a sort of a more classic style episode, but I'm sure with a modern twist. And so from what we know so far, this episode seems to revolve around this space station called Chasm Forge, where most of the crew are dying, but they've all become space zombies, these people who have died, and are suddenly sort of on the hull of the ship, or the hull of the space station, or hanging around the outside, ready to kind of attack and eat people, or something along those lines. So that's quite an interesting one, and clearly, hence the title, the episode focuses around oxygen and a lack of it, and sort of the commodity of it. So it's very much sort of a little bit political and portraying it as sort of oxygen being the ultimate commodity, I think it was called. The thing you absolutely need to have. You'll pay big bucks to have that oxygen. So it was and it's sort of interesting from the trailer seeing these little things about sort of unauthorised oxygen and all this kind of thing. So how sort of precious that oxygen will be, I'm sure, will be a very relevant point of the episode. And this episode does finally feature Nardole properly doing an adventure for the first time this series, well, since episode 1, where he was in a little bit more involved. The last 3 episodes he's done nothing. So it's very nice to see him getting properly involved in a story for the first time since the start of the series. And certainly from what I've read, he's going to be playing it a bit more seriously than maybe he has in some of his comedy scenes. So I'll be looking forward to seeing him have a more sort of a serious performance and a more maybe interesting, engaging performance for an episode, and finally given something to actually do. I've also read that this is comfortably Peter's best performance as the Doctor so far this series. I think it's an episode where he really gets a little bit more to do than he has in some of these previous episodes, where naturally the focus has been a bit more on Bill as being introduced as her as the new companion, so the focus is really put on her. But for this episode, it's certainly being talked about that he has a bit more to do and a bit more involved, and certainly something quite significant maybe going down towards the end of the episode. Now, we'll come on to that now, because it's been talked up that there's going to be a very, very, very big cliffhanger at the end of the episode that's going to be pretty shocking and you don't want to miss it live and all this kind of thing. And I've sort of been looking around on the forums and everything, and I found a little theory as to what that might be. That is this big spoiler for the episode, because certainly it says there's going to be something happen to the Doctor that's never happened to him before, something different, bad, I think, different, that's never ever ever happened to him before. So spoiler alert, but I'm going to give you my theory now on what I think that might be. Now certainly this is kind of a sort of general theory going around at the moment, is that the Doctor is going to be blinded in this episode. Somehow something's going to happen to him in this episode towards the end, which is going to cause him to be blinded, at least partially if not fully blinded. And then the next 2 or 3 episodes, he's just going to be wearing these sonic sunglasses the whole way through. If you look for it in all the pictures and everything, every single promotional picture from the next sort of 2 or 3 episodes has the Doctor wearing his sonic sunglasses. There is not one shot with him not wearing them. So that's sort of where people have picked up a little bit that might be what it is. And maybe the sonic sunglasses are kind of a way for him to be able to see somewhat because he's able to wear those, or something like that. And certainly that would tie in with it being something that's never happened to the Doctor before. For him to be blinded and something like that, that would be very different. It would be very interesting to see how that all panned out and how sort of Peter would portray it, and how the Doctor would be able to cope with this fact of not being able to sort of see properly. And then potentially this may link into the Doctor's fake-out regeneration scene in what's likely to be episode 8 of the series, The Lie of the Land, I think it is, where we see in the trailer the shot of Peter seemingly starting to regenerate, and we're thinking that maybe that's what it's to do with, and he's sort of partially regenerating to kind of fix his eyesight maybe, but that might set in motion the full regeneration for the series. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's just a slightly potentially spoilery little tease and theory as to what might be going down in the end of this episode and the next few episodes. Be interesting to see if we get any more hints as to what's in the vault, certainly in this episode. I mean, we're getting pretty close, as we're going to find out next Saturday who it will be. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more this week, even though, as I've said previously, it's probably missy. And it all just sounds, from everything I've read, that it's going to really be a properly good story. For the first time this series, we might get a proper sort of classic of story, and certainly one that really sort of shines compared to a lot of other ones. It just sounds like a really sort of exciting space station, base under siege, horror, thriller, sort of tension-filled episode that written by Jamie Mathieson, I think is going to do another brilliant job of that, with a little bit of political commentary in there as well, and some sort of shock conclusion and high stakes. It just all builds up to making it sound like a really, really, really good episode, and certainly the one I most anticipated so far this series. And frankly, these next like 4 or 5 episodes I'm seriously hyped for. But apart from that, guys, I don't know too much more, so I won't sort of keep this video going too much longer. But guys, do let me know in the comments below, what are your theories for this episode? Are you excited for it as much as I am? Because I certainly think this will probably be the best episode of the series so far. Do let me know in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching this quick video, guys. Remember to like it, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. Goodbye.